Hi, I'm Teresa Matthews, the founder of Three Dimensional Health, a unique sustainable weight management and vibrant wellness coaching service. Thank you so much for tuning in to watch this video. My topic today is a particular favorite of mine, happiness. I spent a lot of years, decades really, struggling with mild chronic depression, and it's only been for the last 10 years or so that I've shaken it and found chronic happiness. Objectively, some circumstances during those years were measurably better than they are now, and objectively, some were worse. So it didn't really have anything to do with those life circumstances. Now, I was lucky enough not to have a more serious form of depression that's known as clinical depression. People who have that need the care of medical professionals, and hopefully they're lucky enough to find the right medical professional to help them, and they have good family support, because both of those can be so helpful in helping them find their way to wellness. In any event, back to mild intermittent depression. In my case, and based on my study of this subject, which includes lots of articles I've read and books I've read and personal life experience and so forth, in the case of with many people who have mild intermittent depression, and again, this is only clear in hindsight, depression and unhappiness are often symptoms, and they're symptoms of loneliness. Loneliness is the leading root cause of sadness and depression. But going one step further, my depression and chronic unhappiness was caused by my beliefs and thoughts that left me feeling lonely, despite a life full of activity with family, friends, colleagues. And it's been a shift in my thoughts and beliefs that have transformed my life to one ripe with connection, positivity, and happiness, even when I'm alone for long periods of time. Now, one of my all-time favorite books is What Happy People Know by Dr. Dan Baker. I've got plenty of other books I can share with you, but this is one of my all-time favorites. Each chapter begins with a description of a person in crisis to illustrate a variety of different life stresses and different life scenarios. And then he goes on to make the point he wants to make in the chapter. Some of these cases that he starts with, some of these people, their stresses are rather ordinary. There's one that's truly horrific. And then there's everything in between. Now, this psychologist, who is quite a prominent psychologist, had become frustrated that psychoanalysis of people's problems just didn't seem to be helping him help them solve their problems and find true happiness. So he began studying healthy people, happy people, and what he learned and what all the cases written about in this book, that what they reveal is that bad things happen to happy people too. It's just that they handle it entirely differently. We all have our ups and downs. I recall an interview done with Candice Bergen shortly after the death of her beloved husband. The interviewer expressed his or her condolences and asked how she was holding up. And I've never forgotten her response. I'm probably not going to do justice to it right now, trying to recount it, but here's what I recall. She replied that life has ups and downs, and she equated it to like a surfer on waves. Her life, she had just gotten off Murphy Brown, and she said, she'd been on a big wave full of Emmys and accolades and a wonderful marriage and so forth. It was the best ride of a wave. It was just wonderful. But every surfer knows that with every big wave comes a big trough, and that after a big trough, that means there will be another big wave coming. And so she indicated that this is just a part of life. You're not always on the wave ends and you catch another one. And she indicated that she had every belief that she would return to happiness, even though she would always miss her dear husband. Now, that story really stayed with me, and it made such an impact on how I thought about traversing the own travails of my own life and the ups of my own life. So this was a really important lesson. Now, Dr. Baker calls people who manage life's ups and downs in a better way. He calls them chronically happy people. And chronically happy people cling tightly to what they love in their lives. They cling tightly to the wonderful memories, not the loss of whatever it was that brought the wonderful memory. So no matter what is happening in their lives, they know that in the long run, it will pale in comparison to what brings them joy. I've since seen the same observation repeated in many other books on this topic, whether they're kind of coming at it from a spiritual perspective or from a psychological perspective. And I'll tell you, this is an intoxicating way to live. I've discovered this personally, and I've become really quite addicted to it. Recently, I broke up with someone for about 4 months, and I was really heartbroken. And what got me through it was knowing that no matter whether it was permanent or not, gratitude and appreciation for all that was good in my life was going to see me through that time. I was able to appreciate the good that came from it. I clung to what lights me up, and I knew that whether we got back together or not, I was going to be happy again. And that really was so helpful getting me through that time. I also recall a number of years ago being on a spiritual call. I think it was around Valentine's Day because the topic was love. And this spiritual teacher did his little lecture on love. And when he was done, he opened the phone lines and asked if there were any questions. And this woman, I'll never forget, she said, well, this is all well and good, but none of this applies to me because I have no family left. I have no friends. I have no significant other. And so, what do I do? And he did not miss a beat. I've never forgotten this. He said, okay, well, this is what you do. Tomorrow when you wake up and you take your first breath, I want you to realize that how much your body loves you, that you've woken up, that your lungs are taking in this breath for you. And as you get ready to get out of bed, your body is lifting you up out of that bed to get you on to moving into things that you love to do, having your day and whatever is ahead of you. And then when you go into your kitchen and you get a glass of water, I want you to realize how much the universe loves you, that you've been provided this home with a roof over your head and with running water. And he went on and on and on. Now, I don't remember all the other details, but the one I remember the most was that first breath, just waking up, and that she was loved enough to be given another day of living. And she didn't say anything, and then I think she paused and said, wow, I've never thought about it that way. I've often wondered what happened, how she was able to use that information, but I sure know how I did. And it was powerful. When things are tough in my life, I go on high alert for the little daily things that bring me joy. Like, again, the roof over my head. I have a home. I have a really soft bed to sleep in. I have clean running water. I have healthy food. I have friends. I have friends that I get to love. Not just friends that love me, but I get to love them. I have family. Not that, yes, it's great that they love me, but I get to love them. There are so many wonderful blessings. I have clean air to breathe, and so forth and so on. And when I run into a rough time, I remember it's just a wave. I'm in the trough. The big wave is going to come again. So while I was sad when this relationship got derailed, and I'm happy to say it got back on the rails, during that time I stayed tethered to hope and joy and a knowing that no matter how things worked out, it was going to work out. And that gratitude kept me tethered to happiness and the joyful life that I've decided to live. And importantly, it kept me from feeling lonely because I stayed connected to so much love that surrounds me. And love is the antidote to loneliness. And love is the antidote to sadness. love is the pathway to happiness. So, one final pearl of wisdom that's worked for me, because not everything resonates for everybody, but there's a wonderful book called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And one in particular has been really helpful to me, and it's take nothing personally. So years ago, you young people won't know who this is probably, Will Rogers. Older people will. Although he was already gone actually when I was a young adult as well. But in any event, he starred in an old movie, and he was a newspaper columnist in the movie Life Begins at 40. And it had this title because in the movie he makes this statement. At 20, we don't care what the world thinks of us. At 30, we worry about what it thinks of us. And at 40, we're sure it doesn't even think of us at all. So, in other words, no matter what is said or not said, it's rarely about you. When I went through a divorce from my husband of 25 years, and there were many good things about it, during that divorce, there were some very difficult times. There were phone calls with very difficult things said. And each time I reminded myself that nothing bad had happened to me and this was not about me. I took nothing personally. And I would listen a bit, tactfully. I'd end the call and carry on with my day. I didn't take it personally. And happiness prevailed. In fact, I was surprised at how happy I was during that time because it was not an easy time. So I have become rather accomplished at taking nothing personally. I don't always succeed, certainly no one does, but I am so much better at it, and you can be too. So do your best, hold fast to who you are and what brings you joy, and refuse to let events and other people steal your happiness and joy. Not only will you find happiness, but also deepen your own sense of personal power. It is such a great way to live. I'd love to know your thoughts on this topic, especially given that so many of us have struggled with our emotions and happiness during these COVID times. In the meantime, I wish you an abundance of happiness and vibrant health. Until next time, bye for now.